Joe, Miami takes on Louisville. Miami coming out of a bye. Louisville not having a bad season. I think Louisville's kind of flown under the radar here. But Miller Moss and the boys take on Carson, Beck, and the Hurricanes. When you preview and you look into this game, what are your thoughts?
This spread on FanDuel is huge. 13 and a half on FanDuel for anyone who wants to bet on this. Blake, I think that, as you mentioned there, Louisville has been a steady, solid team so far this year. Defensively, they're one of the best in the country, especially at getting after opposing quarterbacks. But Blake, I have a lot of confidence in Miami. I have a lot of confidence in Miami that they're going to win this game, that they're going to control the game for most of it. And if Louisville were to cover, which I might take them to cover because the line's so big, it would be in backdoor fashion. It would not be in a sense where they're toe-to-toe and then Miami just wins the game. No, they would probably have to eke out a late drive to keep it within 13 points. Blake, the biggest reason why I think that Miami has an advantage, you have Miller Moss, who has struggled mightily when pressured. He has 4 picks this year, had 9 last year. He has had 3 of those picks returned for touchdowns. He struggles under pressure so mightily that on Pro Football Focus, his passer grade is 34.6 compared to the 87.4 when he has a clean pocket. The offensive line has allowed 14 sacks on the season, averaging 3.8 yards per carry. They gave up 5 against UVA, which was one of the toughest, if not the only tough game that they've seen on their schedule. Blake, I see a Miami defense that every time that we do one of these previews, it always starts with the Miami defense. It always starts with Ruben Bain. It always starts with the secondary. It always starts with the way that they're playing with a direct mentality and an attention to detail of dominance. And I think that you come into a game like this knowing the problems that Louisville is having when they're giving up pressure to Miller Moss. This is an easy opportunity for them to get multiple turnovers, to get multiple big sacks, and to control the game, even if Louisville's defense challenges the Miami offense just a bit.
You're right on this Miller Moss thing. I mean, listen, I don't think he's played bad. I think it's been a little bit of the inverse. Joe, he went to a team in Louisville that was supposed to be counteracting for him in reference to, hey, man, I'm going to a team that can run the football and take some of this pressure off of me. It hasn't been that case. The case has been that they have been god-awful running the football, even with Brown, and I understand all the things going on there. They're 112th in the country in rushing. 112th. They've been god-awful at running the football. They can't get anything going on the ground. Joe, they've put so much pressure on him to make plays that he's been able to do it sometimes, and they've got some weapons out there for him. I think Brohm and company have done a good job, but you're right. Without a running game, with Miller Moss not being the most mobile of quarterbacks, Ruben Bain and this defensive line and this defense is going to get after him. And you're going to have to find ways early to protect him. You're going to have to get the ball out quick. You're going to have to get your playmakers' ball quickly out in space, just in the sense of if you don't, this Miami defense is going to feast here. Joe, this is a very bad matchup for Louisville. It's a bad matchup for Louisville because you can't run the ball. And this might be the best edge room in the country that you're having to protect, and you're going to be in third and long situations for Miller Moss to have to attack, and I don't know if he can do it. I'm not saying that he's a bad quarterback at all. I think it's the inverse. Joe, to be real with you, they're top 20 in the country or right at 20th in the country in passing offense. Just in this, I think they're 21st, but he's had to be everything that they've needed to sustain here. They got to find a way to help him out because if they don't, like you mentioned, Ruben Bain and company is going to get after him. Again, they're 112th in the country in rushing. But, Joe, everything, third down offense, scoring offense, which, by the way, they're top 30 in the country in scoring, mainly due to the fact of what Miller Moss and company has been able to provide for him and them in these crucial situations. Joe, ironically enough, on third down, he's top 5 in the country in accuracy rate. On third down is Miller Moss, of all people. They got to take some of this pressure off of him if they even stand a chance of beating what is a great Miami team right now.
And I think a lot of his production, got to give credit to the receivers that he has. Cristobal is phenomenal. I really think that Cristobal is going to be in consideration for a first-round pick. He is a guy who, very similar to A.J. Brown physically, the Miami secondary needs to be prepared for the challenge that is ahead of them of dealing with the receivers. Colin Lacey is also a very productive, solid receiver for them as well. I also think for Miami, another thing that they need to be aware of and prepared for, as we mentioned, Louisville's defense is really good. They're only allowing 150 pass yards in the season. They've only given up 5 touchdowns. They have 6 interceptions on the year. Now, they have not faced a quarterback as good as Carson Beck. But Carson Beck needs to be on his game because he's going up against a Ron English-led defense that loves to blitz. Very disruptive defensive line, front seven that gets after opposing quarterbacks. They're also doing a great job at preventing opposing teams from getting things going on the ground. Only 3.3 yards per carry. If Miami establishes the run early, they're going to end up doing something that really not many other opponents have had success doing. But we know that Miami is in a completely separate category. They're in a completely different conversation with the way that they can outmuscle teams that they're going against. But I feel moderately secure that if they have to turn to something different, they can. We've talked about this a million times over. That's why they're the most balanced. When they can't win on the ground, they win through the air. When they can't win through the air, they win on the ground. They're too balanced to completely shut down both things. I just don't have, ultimately, as solid as Louisville has been, I do not see them on a level enough to truly, truly challenge Miami, because the momentum that Miami has and the athletes that Miami has at the current moment are way too much for Louisville to handle.
I do too. And listen, for what it's worth, I think people go into this game for Miami thinking that they're just going to run all over them, and they very well could. This Louisville defense, for what it's worth, top 12 in the country in total defense. They're 8th in the country, Joe, in run and pass defense. They've been a little leaky in run defense, which Miami's just not the team to be able to be leaky for when it comes to this. They will physically pound you down. Miami coming out of a bye week, man, I just don't know, because of you not being able, and I said this earlier, but you not being able to run the football, so much being put on Miller Moss. I do think that defensively they're good, but when you look at Miami, what do they do well? Everything. They got weapons on the outside. They got a veteran, experienced quarterback that's making the right moves and right decisions and making the right plays. Their running game has been very, very, very effective and is very deep. Their offensive line has been able to lean on people, and when they haven't been able to, and they, like Florida as an example, or Florida State puts players in the box, Carson Beck's able to lead them to a win. You said this, they are the most complete team, and until the time comes where somebody can show a chink in that armor, then you're going to have to continue to show and find a way to get and be counteractive in that. Can they? I think Brohm's a hell of a coach. But it just comes down to every single area I think Miami is better than you in, and I think they're going to prevail here.
I do have to say, and I'm sure that this will piss off Louisville fans, I think a lot of their defensive success has been inflated. And I think that this is one of these things, Blake, that we have when we talk about October. And I keep saying this, and I'm going to say this until we get to the month of November, when we actually have a defined understanding of who the legit teams and who are not. When you have a team like Louisville, whose schedule has consisted of JMU, Bowling Green, Pitt, and then this past week when they played Virginia, they also played Eastern Kentucky. A lot of their defensive stats are going to look a lot stronger because they have not really played many challenging offenses.
That's fair.
They squared off with Pitt when Eli Holstein was still playing and starting for Pitt. And then they made the transition to the freshman that's been phenomenal for them. The one time that they went up against an offense that was actually challenging, they gave up 30 points. And that was the game that they lost to Virginia. This was a game that they were not equipped for, albeit Louisville's defense did play solidly. Just overall, that game is not up to the standard of a team in Louisville for what they need to do to beat Miami. You can't
I don't.
You can't play like that against Virginia and then expect to beat Miami. They're on to completely different levels. Like, are we really going to sit here and compare the challenge of facing Carson, Beck, and Marty Brown and Fletcher with Jamari Taylor and Chandler Morris?
Chandler Morris, it can run. And it's a different style and situation here. Carson Beck ain't gonna run like that. He ain't gonna run like that.
But he is like the degree of separation between Beck and every quarterback that Louisville has faced is significant. Fair. They have not been challenged by a real quarterback.
Fair, but Chandler Morris is a little bit different of an athlete. The running,
that's nice. That's nice, and they held him to under 150 yards passing, which was a solid game, and they kind of kept the Virginia offense in check. But what frankly killed them was the defensive or the offensive performance and how much they got beaten up by the Virginia defense.
That's where I was gonna go. They had a lot of short fields, a lot of bad situations that happened to them. They couldn't run the football. I don't know if it's all on the defense, but again, Miami coming out of this bye, top 5 team in the country. I just think that they're going to roll here. I'm going to be real with you. I'm taking Miami and the points. I think they're going to roll here. I really do.
I got to think about my bet on this one, but I do agree with you. I do think that Miami.
Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a bad matchup.
Very bad matchup.
It's a really bad matchup for Louisville.
And it's at Miami too. The one saving grace that you could possibly have is maybe
have not left the state of Florida,
which is nuts. When is their first?
I don't know, but you're going to get in the weekend.
They get Stanford at home. SMU is their first road game, and SMU's not exactly.
Texas saying that ain't that far, bro. No. I got to be real with you. They kind of catered to Miami here on this. This is a little catering. You got to have an away. You got to have a game out of the state of Florida before you get into week 9.
Sometimes teams get favorable schedules. Sometimes teams get screwed. Can't control that.
The ACC should know better.
But Miami's gotten screwed plenty of times in the past, so it's not like
when.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay,
it's not exactly like that. They've had the utmost success, and they've been treated like some Alabama type brand with how everything gets handled for them. I don't know.
Joe,
it's arbitrary.
They haven't left the state of Florida, my guy. Like, that's insane. That is insane.
Well, it's a benefit to them.
Hey, I got an idea. Why don't you put that Florida State game later in the season?
I do not understand why that's in the middle of the year. I got to be honest.
Yeah. You know what else? That would have been a bad transition.